This episode is being brought to you by Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alaska Realty. Whether you're investing in residential, buying or selling commercial properties anywhere in the state of Alaska, we're here to assist. To reach us, you can contact me at lottie@lottiemichael.com or my cell phone, 907-242-7603. And for comments or questions about residential properties, reach out to Connie Yoshimura at 907-229-2703, 229-2703.
Hello, everyone. I'm Connie Yoshimura, and welcome to the Alaska Real Estate Podcast with Connie, myself, and Lottie Michael, who is out showing property today. So with me as my guest today, I have Teresa Thomas, who has been in the mortgage origination business for over 20 years, and may I say is a top producer with Global Credit Union. And on my left is Daniel George, who is licensed in real estate for 9 years, but has spent 20 years in the real estate industry, both working for a home builder and also was on the Planning and Zoning Commission for 3 years.
Yes. Just about
3 years. So we're very happy to have you with us at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, who is our sponsor for these podcasts. And today we're going to talk about the $1 million market, all the pros, all the cons. And these are two experts that have had a lot of experience with working in the $1 million and $2 million. And, now we are actually having $3 million homes as well, both in new construction and in resale, with swimming pools, basketball courts, hangar homes. Cabins on lakes are no longer cabins. They're 3-story luxury multi-million-dollar homes. So, Daniel, you recently had some experiences selling $1 million homes and how competitive it is out there. So let's start with you. Can you share some of those experiences with us?
Sure, Connie. Thank you. Again, my name is Daniel George, realtor here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alaska Realty. I've got a few clients who are out shopping the market right now, and our market is very healthy. There is demand more than sufficient for our inventory. We've got absorption rate just over a month right now. And candidly, if you're someone who's in the market for a 4 or 5 bedroom home, 3.5 bath, and you want to be in Anchorage proper, you've got to be ready to jump quickly. You've got to be pre-qualified. And it really helps if you're working with someone who's experienced and has set you up with an MLS portal for listings as they come available. I would also say that for licensees that are listing these properties, it is very important that you fill out your listings completely and accurately. There are buyers that are looking for specific things in this price range. They have the ability to be a bit more discerning than some, and they are looking for a bedroom or bathroom on the main level, or something that's not, a 3-story walk up and down. They're looking for an accessory dwelling unit or a home that can function like one. And a lot of these portals or drip campaigns through these CRMs will send these listings to clients based on what is put into the listing. So it is important that licensees who are listing these properties allow our tools in the marketplace and with the MLS to do their job and to benefit their clients.
So exactly how competitive is it? Because I understand that you have been competing in this marketplace. And what have you found that makes the difference, so to speak, of whether or not you get the sale or you don't get the sale? Is it price? Is it relationships? Is it knowledge about knowing what's coming up? Talk to us about that.
It's a lot of those. Price, ultimately, when you're working with a seller, they're looking at their net sheet, and that goes a very long ways. Cash is also a very strong motivator if you're a seller. One of the instances, I've had some clients who have, like I said, been looking in this range, the 1 to 1.5 million range. They came up against another bidder and were unsuccessful because the other bidder was willing to go cash and waive an appraisal. So there's no need for that sort of thing. And in other situations, they've run up against other buyers who are competing And those buyers are doing unlimited appraisal gaps in some cases. And they're doing escalations for $100,000 to $300,000 more than the asking price, which is mind-boggling. But we've encountered it more than once recently. So like I said, there is a healthy demand in this space. There are some cash buyers, but by and large, you're usually going to be working with a lender in many of these cases.
That's why you're here, Teresa.
That's why I'm here.
So welcome. So far in the last 12 months, there have been 88 sales between $1 million and $1.5 million. That doesn't count the number of sales that are above the 1.5 million. And I've been in this business for over 40 years, and I am just totally amazed that our market has reached these sales prices. So, but in speaking to what Daniel had to say, you do have a loan program that fills that gap as far as the appraisal gap is concerned.
We have one that can help. Yeah, I've used to help. I actually, in reference to what you're talking about with those appraisal gaps, I had a gentleman agree recently to pay an unlimited appraisal gap. With the final settled upon purchase price, it was an $80,000 appraisal gap he would have had to pay if the appraisal didn't come in. Wound up being, when we got the appraisal, he paid a $40,000 gap. So yes, we're seeing a lot more people agreeing to pay above the appraised value. And the problem that we're seeing on our end is it makes it harder for borrowers to compete to get those offers. Like you're saying, they're getting outbid. And it's hard to beat a cash offer. A cash offer is almost always going to win. But if somebody is struggling to come up, they've already got their down payment, and they're struggling to come up with that additional appraisal gap, what we can do is 100% financing on approved credit. And with that, they can take what they would have used for a down payment and pay that appraisal gap. So that's how we're able to help in that market. This is for conforming, though, so it has to be under 1.249 as far as purchase price.
No more than 1.2.
Right. 1,249,000 is the conforming loan limit. So.
All right. But you have some other loan programs that are really quite attractive. They go up to $2 million.
We do.
$3 million, or where's that?
We do have jumbo loans that go as high as $2 million in Alaska.
All right.
If it's going to go over $2 million, we do have to take it to our finance committee for exception.
But it does.
But we can.
But you can.
Yeah.
And what sort of interest rate are those?
They're going to be pretty competitive. I would say not much more than your average conforming loan interest rates.
And that's just because you've sort of seen this market coming.
Right.
I mean, you can do a $2 million loan.
Yeah.
What would be the interest rate on a $2 million? What would be the mortgage payment on a $2 million loan?
Well, the mortgage payment's going to be pretty significant, well over $10,000. But the interest rate, of course, depends on how much money they are putting down. So what the loan to value is, what their credit score is. So it's hard to just quote an interest rate because it is going to depend on so many different factors.
So what's the demographic of someone that would purchase a $2 million house with zero down?
Doctors typically are the ones that are going to do that. We do have a doctor program with its 100% financing, but again, that's within conforming limits. So that goes up to that $1,249,000 mark. But yeah, the doctors, we have a doctor program, 100% financing, no mortgage insurance. And it's not just for doctors. We allow veterinarians and we allow dentists, I can't speak, optometrists.
Right.
So it does allow for quite a few different areas of the medical industry.
Well, cash offers you're not really very involved in, but
No.
I'm assuming that you hear about a lot of cash offers,
I
right?
do, and I hear about it more from my clients than I do anyone else because they're getting beat out by them, and that's always disappointing because there's just no competing when it's a cash offer.
And so it's the medical community that's doing a lot of these. And what are you finding? Who are these people buying $2 million houses?
Well, the folks that I'm working with are locally based, but there are a lot of relocations that are coming up. We see in some of the listings in this price range that there are relocation companies. And so we have that churn here in Anchorage of those folks, but we're also seeing more activity in this price range. And it is folks that simply have more buying power. The combination of inflation and limited market availability and the fact that folks still have lifestyles that evolve and change over time, and they need more bedrooms for whatever it may be, for a growing family or just the desire for such. I have clients that in the past may have done a contingent offer because they have a current residence and they want to move. They're finding ways to make that offer not contingent and then be able to sell that other property later just to become more competitive. I looked specifically at the $1 to $1.5 million range, and we have more pending properties in that price range than we actually have active in that tranche. And among those properties, I took the total days on market of all the pending homes and pulled out the new construction ones because those are to be built mostly. Right. And over half of them are pending in less than 10 days on market. And the overall average days on market in that 1 to 1.5 million range for those pending properties is under 30 days on market, which means that you've got fantastic movement in that range.
And so a property that might stay on the market longer, we would anticipate that there were issues related to that type of property.
There are definitely some factors that I see consistently among properties that have longer market exposure before they pend. A lot of the folks now, if you're looking for a 4 to 5 bedroom home, you want a 3-car garage now. Mm-hmm. And there are some of these older homes that are beautiful, well-maintained homes, but they're 2-car garage, or they just got more stairs than folks want to deal with if they're planning long term. There are some factors, like if you've got a full large basement on a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home, but it doesn't have walkout access, right. That's very challenging because the purpose of what a lot of those basements are to serve sometimes is multi-generational living, or you've got growing children that maybe want access without having to come through the home. And so we want
to go out the back door.
They want to go out the back door. And I think that our tastes have evolved in terms of what we build here over time. And we see that, there are some folks that have done a great job of modifying those properties, and we still see a lot of renovations activity here locally just because of the cost of construction. Mm-hmm. But overall, if you have the ability to be shopping in this price range, you're going to want to find what it is you need.
Well, I think, the interesting thing is the story that I tell is in the early 1990s, there was the evolving of the triple car garage, right? And so you spoke to a lot of these houses don't have the triple car garage. But the other thing of the older homes that were built in the 80s. But the other thing is that half bath on the first floor. Now it's a full bath. It is a full bath because it's the multi-generational living, and that office or that den is a potential bedroom or casita or for a returning adult child or an in-law or a grandparent. So there are those changes. That primary suite on the first floor with its bath, plus then for visitors and guests, a half bath. So almost every bedroom now needs its own bathroom. We've seen that time and time again. Right.
It's really getting close to that point. You hit the nail on the head on having that bedroom accessible on the main level where it lives like a ranch. I've worked with clients who they're not currently taking care of a family member, but they can see on the horizon, with the cost of care these days and the desire to be close to our loved ones, that they anticipate that need. They want it to live like a ranch, but they want their family member to have that access on the main level. Or maybe they're just thinking ahead for themselves. But having that bedroom or bath on the main level, particularly a primary bedroom or bath, goes a long ways, because we all know how in demand ranch homes are here in Anchorage, or a ranch with a daylight basement. There is tremendous demand as folks try to age in place here in Alaska. And if you're a licensee and you're listing one of these properties, you've got to fill out that MLS sheet with all the things in it. I don't know why it hasn't been drilled into some folks' head, but it really needs to take place. You mentioned homes with swimming pools. I see listings with swimming pools that don't have that clicked. Now, I don't know if there are folks that are looking specifically for swimming pools, but for ADUs or waterfront or whatever those, criteria that might be important for customers, you've got to do that. Another thing I'll say as well is some of the homes in this price point are going active. 0 days on market, just boom, they're active and they're live. I mean, you have photos with these listings. And that's frustrating, I think, for some buyers to be constantly playing whack-a-mole or trying to jump on and getting a showing. Use the coming soon feature we have available. It allows you to generate that activity, that buzz in the market, and for folks to schedule those showings. And then on the flip side of that, it is to your seller's advantage to also allow showings. I have seen multiple properties over $1 million that have pended while in coming soon status.
I thought you couldn't do that.
I thought you couldn't either, but in practice, it's starting to happen.
Well, what's the point of having a coming soon then? There really isn't any point whatsoever in having a coming soon, right?
If you will abide by it,
Right.
it works. I think that some licensees, they want to spare their sellers the hassle of having folks come in and traipse through their home and having to step out, and all of the anxiety that goes along with having other folks in your home, strangers, and at least allowing folks to schedule those showings to know that they're going to have an opportunity to see it. Maybe have an open house the first day, but to pend as a coming soon, it can be frustrating. It also puts your buyers in a position where they may have jumped on a property that in person, when they see it, it loses that luster. And that's a challenging place to be as well.
So I'm still going back to the demographic of who's buying these $1 million or $2 million homes.
I think aside from just doctors, we also have a lot of oil folks up here that are buying those homes. Also, there's some tech people up here that are also buying those homes. So I think there's a good variety. A lot of upper military, too, can afford that purchase price.
We want to take a quick moment to thank Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alaska Realty for supporting this episode. One of the things we appreciate about our team is that our agents do far more than open a door. We help clients understand neighborhoods, evaluate investment opportunities, navigate commercial leases, prepare homes for sale, and make smart long-term real estate decisions. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or a growing business looking for office space, or a national or international Fortune 500 company exploring opportunities in Alaska, we're here to facilitate and help you. Visit Berkshire Hathaway Home Services AlaskaRealty.com to connect with Lottie Michael at 907-242-7603 or Connie Yoshimura at 907-229-2703. So, my experience is that the aging boomer has a lot of equity in their home. They also have other assets. And the decision, I think, for some of them really is, do I want to stay here or and have a new home that we've always dreamed about having, realize it, or do we want to have a second home in Arizona or Florida or Jackson Hole or California or wherever. But I've read recently that more and more boomers, aging boomers, and we're just in the beginning of the mass of boomers. The boomers that we have now are younger, but they're aging, and there's more of them. And so the reality is that they're trying to figure out what to do with their lives,
Right.
really. And so I've seen several of them decide to have, we've worked really hard, we've had this business, or we've fulfilled all of our commitments to our kids and all that sort of thing. I want to have a nice house.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen that. And so I think that's another category, that there is a lot of hidden wealth here in this community. And I'm just not talking about Anchorage, I'm talking about Alaska, So I think that's another type of buyer. And I remember selling a $2.3 million house, a realtor that I didn't know the realtor. It was of a small business that became a large business. It was a cleaning janitorial business. And so you don't think of some of those trades actually having that capability of buying a $2 or $3 million home. But Alaska's a great place because you can be successful no matter what your situation is if you're willing to really work hard.
That is true. I find that a lot of people in that situation, it's because they've started out small, building wealth.
Yes.
And a lot of times through real estate, they'll have several rental properties under their belt by the time they're ready to purchase that final $1 million home.
Yeah. So you have rental properties. Yes.
I do. I've had rental properties for almost 20 years now here in Anchorage.
So are you ready for that $1 million house?
I think I'm more in the demographic that's looking at the growing family. Is the house we have currently, sufficient for our needs? As as I've disclosed to you, my wife is 39 weeks pregnant with our first. And so we're soon to have our first child. And we're going through a lot of those mental exercises and processes that a lot of our buyers and sellers are going through, which is, does this house we have meet our needs currently? You've talked about many times over the years.
Birth, death, divorce, and job change. Those are the 5 main reasons why people buy and sell.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
And you've got one of those.
Well, there are more of those. I do, yes.
Right. You've got one of those.
So yes, there are natural factors that churn our marketplace. What we're seeing now is inventory that is below where we were last year.
Yes.
Although in the last month we have seen a strong uptick in listings, which is very good for our market. I'll let Teresa talk about how the interest rates are playing into that, but I would say that we have a very healthy market right now in terms of demand, and I think that we could even accommodate some additional supply and be okay personally. But I remember back to when I bought my first property in Anchorage back around 2009. We got our appraisal, and it said it was a declining market, and to see that the lenders and the professional appraisers were looking at what was out there and that they were expecting it to be more of a risk was something I don't know that we've really seen in a long time. And I look for signs like that, having experienced those. That's why it's important to work with someone who's experienced. But right now I see our market as stable or appreciating.
That's what I've seen.
Right. Well, so far, the residential rate of appreciation is just a little bit over 4%. And that's what it was in 2025 as well, which doesn't compare really to the 6 and 7% rate of appreciation we've seen previously in recent years. So in that regard, I believe that you could say that the market has slowed a little bit as far as appreciation is concerned. But still, whether you buy a condo or a multi-million-dollar house, you need to step on the housing ladder because it is an opportunity for wealth generation that you don't have. Real estate is that you don't have anywhere else because it is a leveraged investment. When you buy a bond, you pay for the bond, or when you buy an equity, you pay the current price for it, and you hope it appreciates. But in real estate, it does appreciate if you hold it long enough. If you hold it long enough, it really does. So it is that opportunity for wealth generation. So what do you think about interest rates, mortgage interest rates?
So, we catch a lot of flack on our end about mortgage rates, but I think that they're relatively stable. Yes, there's fluctuation with the war going on and with oil prices, but I don't predict they're coming down. I think a lot of economists have been predicting they're coming down, but we had a Fed meeting recently, and they're actually talking about possibly increasing by the end of the year.
I didn't want to read that.
Yeah. So I think that surprised a lot of people, myself included. So in my opinion, I would say if you're thinking about buying, do it now before that rate hike does happen. We can't guarantee it is or is not going to happen. We can never really predict the market. There's no crystal ball. But I think that now's still a good time to buy. And what I think a lot of people forget to talk about when they're talking about rates being high and the cost of purchasing is they forget to talk about the cost of not purchasing. When a home's appreciating on average 4 to 5% a year, and the average home price is over $400,000 in Anchorage now,
500 and something. Yes.
so over 500 now. So they're missing out on tens of thousands of dollars in equity each year they wait.
Yes.
And I think people don't realize that. They don't put that together. They just see those high rates and the high cost of buying, but really there's a high cost in waiting.
Yes, there definitely is. And at least then, if you buy and you have a fixed rate mortgage, you are maybe going to have increases for taxes and insurance, but it is offset by that appreciation. Whereas a rental property, you don't have that opportunity whatsoever.
Right. Exactly.
Your rent can go up because that landlord has to have increases in order to pay for taxes and that sort of thing.
Right.
So you are buying someone else. You really are paying for someone else's mortgage.
You are. And I think too, there's a lot of talk about inflation right now. And what I think a lot of renters don't realize is by purchasing a home, you're basically making your house payment inflation proof. Everything else is going to go up. Your taxes and insurance might go up, but your payment itself, if you're locking in for 30 years, it's not going to go up. So that's a real benefit to home ownership is you can inflation proof your home payment. And that's the largest expense anyone has every month.
Right, right. So I think the other issue is it doesn't have to be a 30-year mortgage.
It doesn't.
Right.
No.
So you have 15-year mortgages, or anyone can have a 30-year mortgage, but pay it down like it is a 15-year mortgage, right?
And
There's a huge difference between a 30-year and a 50-year.
there is. Rates are going to
15-year.
be better on your 15-year mortgage programs, but we also do 20 and 25-year loans. So, if you can't quite squeeze out that 15-year payment, there's other options in between there that we can look at.
I did not know that there were other options.
Yeah, there
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
So we do have
Is that
those
a
options.
universally known fact that I've missed, or is that a special loan program?
No, that's a universal thing. We have 15, 20, 25, and 30-year loan terms. So,
Well, I knew
yeah.
about the 15 and I knew about the 30, but
Right.
and I knew about the 20 or 25 commercially,
Okay.
but not residentially.
Yeah, no, we do have other terms we can look at. I would say 30-year is the most common, but certainly I definitely do a lot of 15s as well.
Okay. All right. So for the future, for the rest of this year, what do you see? Stability, a little ups and downs, or what are your thoughts?
For rates, I think it's going to be a little ups and downs, just like there always is. There's never a time when rates are just going to stay flat. So we're always looking at ups and we're always looking at downs. I would just recommend you work with a lender who's watching the rates, who's watching the mortgage-backed security market where rates are derived from. If you mention the mortgage securities market to your loan officer and they don't know what it is, then they might not be the best option, because the good loan officers are watching that, because they're watching your back, making sure you're locked at the best possible rate.
All right. So, Daniel, any words of wisdom for buyers going into this market?
Sure. For buyers going into this market, establish yourself with a great lender in advance. Make sure that your licensee, your realtor, has had a chance to connect with your lender as well. They should be able to build that relationship. So when the time comes to put that offer, whether it's competitive or it's strategic, on that property that you want to buy, that your agent is able to communicate directly with a lender. I know so many lenders who go above and beyond to make sure that they get those pre-qual letters back so that you, as a buyer, have the best chance of success in those situations. So work with a lender in advance to know what might happen if you have to escalate, or if you've got to do a recast where you sell a departing property. Make sure that you have those questions in advance addressed so that when you go in, you're in the best position possible. And make sure you work with somebody who is able to build those relationships, is able to make sure that they complete all of the paperwork and the documentation and get it to the seller's agents in a way that makes you look strong and have the best chance of success possible.
And we've talked about the type of home that people are looking for now, buyers are looking for. I will say that over 51% of all the homes that are currently being sold in South Central Alaska are ranches. It's an absolutely amazing number. And of course, most of that is taking place out in the Mat-Su. But I do know ranches here are very sought after in the municipality of Anchorage. I work in the land development and new construction area of the market, and I just think that looking at the prices for today, you are, because of the tariffs and other costs associated with home building, including labor, you are going to see some pretty significant inflation. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Whether it's lumber or sheetrock coming from China or a shortage of labor, it is going to be much more expensive.
It is. The cost to build has gone up
Yes.
quite significantly.
Yeah. And you have a little bit of building experience in your past, right?
I do. I worked as a laborer for local builder John Hagmeyer over the course of 5 summers when I worked my way through college here in Alaska. Coming home and seeing what our market looked like more than 20 years ago, we would build entire streets on spec, as the builders say.
Right,
We would
yes.
build a whole row of what are now $700,000-800,000 homes today, in the hopes and almost the certitude that by the time that we were putting the cabinets in, a buyer would be nipping at our heels to get out of there so they could move in. And that's the way it was in 05, 06, 07. And I've also seen what happens when the music stops, as to quote The Big Short, for those who've seen the movie, and to come back, the next summer to work on more homes and to see a whole row of homes still sitting there. The real estate market can be unforgiving at times, but is a lot easier to navigate when you're working with someone who knows what they're doing, who's experienced, who's hardworking, trustworthy. And, we've got fantastic people here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alaska Realty who can help folks navigate today's market. And in partnership with great lenders who are also based here out of our brokerage, I think that we offer tremendous opportunities for success navigating those transactions.
Well, thank you very much for those complimentary remarks. I want everyone to know that I did not pay him to say those things, which would be against the law. So anyway, I want to thank you and Teresa for being with us today.
Thank you.
I think it's very insightful. I never did think that we would ever have a podcast just talking about the $1 million and the multi-million-dollar market.
It is a growing market.
It is. Yeah. All right. Thank you all very, very much. Now, tell us, how long have you been in the real estate business?
I'm going into my 19th year.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Congratulations, really.
I am.
What did you do before you went into real estate?
I was in the title business. Yeah, I worked with commercial real estate. So I did mainly commercial real estate with the marketing department and did some title and some escrow as well. And prior to that, I was in the residential side of title insurance and escrow. And it was a great transition to go from there to real estate, because the one challenge was that all of my sphere of influence were all realtors.
You also have another love, which is some athletic opportunities, right? So
Yes.
tell us about those.
So part of my longtime career in real estate involved me also coaching at West Anchorage High School for cross-country running, track and field. I was the head coach there for quite a few years. And it was just great giving back to the community, working with the young kids, their parents, the West Anchorage community. It feels like it's, I'm calling myself a Westie, even though I live in the downtown area. So yeah, and it was just it was a wonderful way of giving back. Got a lot of enjoyment and fulfillment out of it.
Well, I think that coaching is really part of real estate as well, right?
Yes,
It's just a different skill set and different knowledge, but it is still all about coaching people through one of the most important transactions of their life. But you made a switch several years ago in real estate. You were still in real estate, but you switched from direct listing and sales into sort of a luxury boutique property management company. And I remember I remember saying, Ruth, why would you want to do that? You were a very successful realtor. So tell me about that experience and what you've gained and learned and why you love doing that.
So
now
it wasn't so much of a switch as it was more of a additional service I offered, because my main clientele is still going to be going to be working with buyers and sellers, but you're going to find there's always a need for housing, and some people just are not in a position to buy, or they have decided not to because they're only going to be here so many years. So there's always a need for housing. So I decided to go do a small boutique property management company at a certain price point, and that way I would market myself that way, and then I would be very hands-on. I'd offer a service where I'm very communicative. I'm available when something needs to be done. I immediately called them back. And I saw a need for that. There was one-on-one, contact and lots of interaction between not just the owners, but also the tenants as well.
Well, I think that's an exceptionally nice part of a real estate career. And how much longer are you going to sell real estate?
Till I'm not breathing anymore.
I think that's right. That's how I feel. No, really.
Yeah, no.
Because it is a life. It is a lifestyle, and it's really very rewarding.
It
right?
really is.
Because you're helping people at a very important time in their life, whether they're sellers or whether they're renters. And you found a niche in the marketplace that I think was really, really lacking, which was professional, hands-on, day-to-day opportunities for sellers to find a good leasing agent to work with. Is there an additional charge for pets?
Yes, there is. Because I always encourage a pet deposit per pet.
Per pet. All right. Okay.
I always.
Oh, there he is now. He's paying attention right now.
Pet. So pet deposits are really important because some people say, well, just raise the monthly rent. Could I do that? And I go, well, you're not going to get the benefit just raising the monthly rent. What you want to do is have a deposit. It gets deposited into the owner's account. Their security deposit, the tenant's security deposit, goes into the trust account of Berkshire Hathaway, but the pet deposit goes directly to the owner. And then they have the driver's wheel with that, because I do the final walkthrough with the tenant, and if it's in normal condition, not if it's usual wear and tear, not unusual wear and tear, then they'll get that deposit back. But if there's wear and tear from the pet, that deposit will get kept for.
So, any final words of advice for renters? How can renters be competitive if the market is so tight? How can a renter, a potential tenant, get prepared?
Well, they need to have a good rental history, because I do a thorough background check. And if I find that they've always paid their rent on time, that they've got the owner of the property or the property manager says that they left the place in great condition, they paid their bills on time, their utility bills, they paid their rent on time, and have a good credit score, they're going to be the most desirable candidate for the owner to pick. And good job, history. I always call the employers to verify their job and their salary amount, all of that. And I get permission, of course, from, the tenant knows that up front, that's what I'm going to be doing through the background interview process. So,
thanks again to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alaska Realty for sponsoring this episode. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in the great state of Alaska, be sure to contact us. Connie Yoshimura at 907-229-273, or for commercial activity, Lottie Michael, CCIM at 907-242-7603.